Super excited to be here. Disclaimer, I'm not an AI expert, but I wear multiple hats where AI really plays a big role, and Ed asked me to join the distinguished group of speakers this morning and just give a couple of remarks how I see AI impact education and then impact organizations in general in terms of their competitive growth. So the two hats I'm wearing, I'm a divisional dean. I run the business programs at NYU School of Professional Studies, so I'm responsible for approximately 2,500 students. I have approximately 450 adjunct professors, so it's quite a large organization dedicated to give students the skills they can use on day one. So we're really connected to industry. I want to bridge theory and practice, academia and industry, and really get students ready. So that's role number one. Role number two is, as a professor, I'm interested in how organizations, knowledge-based organizations grow, how they prosper, how they innovate. So my research and consulting is really around helping organizations find new ways to leverage their knowledge assets for success. So let's start with education and AI's impact on that. And it's been an interesting ride. I mean, if you think about it, no more admissions essays, right? I mean, we have those nice, beautiful prompts to write a nice essay that the admissions officer is reading. Well, ChatGPT can help you. What about assignments in class? Another beautiful final essay about a particular topic I'm teaching? Well, again, generative AI can help you. So we really had to up our game here and really think about new ways of assessing people that join us. How can we, beyond an essay, find out whether people are suited to study at NYU, make it personal, make it relevant for them, but also allow us to assess what are strengths and weaknesses of applicants. We had to work with our instructors and find out new ways to assess students. A former colleague of mine at the Wharton School, he is teaching entrepreneurship, and he said, Martin, well, in the past, we required students to write a business plan. Now I require students to build the whole business. Because powered with AI, you can do that. Our students have access to the tools, and it's very easy for me. In 30 seconds, I can tell ChatGPT, write me a business plan to sell potatoes in New York City, and boom, there's the business plan. But now we really have to work with our students how they can leverage the AI tools to build the entire business. What's the marketing plan, the PR strategy, the technology implications? And that's beautiful now if an academic institution embraces that, and as the School of Professional Studies we do, because we know our students will graduate and work in organizations across the city, across the globe, and they will use these AI tools, so let them start using them in the classroom. But it required a lot of work for us, of course, to revisit how we structure the classroom, what assignments we give them, and let them experiment. Also let our instructors experiment how to best leverage that, because it's so important. So that's the AI impact on education, at least higher education. I don't know how many people in the room have kids. There's, of course, a lot of implications around K-12 education. I have a 7-year-old son. If I think about me as a 7-year-old, or then as a 10 or a teenager, I had to, well, now I'm dating myself, I had to actually still go to the library and then read books, right? And then come up with a report and then submit that. Of course, the internet has already disrupted that, but now, in terms of writing essays, learning how to write, that will be all changed with AI. And I look forward to all the education entrepreneurs that will come up with solutions to really help younger individuals gain the skills before they use AI as a tool to then accelerate them. So I'm a big proponent for integrating AI in the classroom, but you have to really be thoughtful around how to do that. And so that's K-12, higher ed. Final thing in terms of education, of course, continuously learning in organizations, learning and development in corporations. So you all work for interesting organizations. So really thinking about how organizations train their employees, how they're continuously upgrading. What I find is interesting is that many corporations don't necessarily have a coherent whole AI strategy for their staff, while at the same time many individuals already use AI. So how can now I, as a learning and development person in an organization, share the best practices that are already happening in the company and really supercharge my staff, my employees, to leverage AI to get the best results. Any questions on education before I move to the second hat that I'm wearing?
I'm very curious about the admissions process regarding, because again, I used to work in high schools, I used to be the director. So for high schools, the pipeline into college, right? So what do you look for in this new AI world? How do we guide students and tell them how their application can stand out? And then also, there's also the issues of around affirmative action. So how does AI and affirmative action, come into play with admissions?
That's a big one, thank you. I'm not an expert in terms of undergrad admissions. My programs are all graduate programs. That said, I think what is important for education institutions to more holistically assess individuals and really look at the context. I think that was mentioned before. What's the context of the applicant? And holistically, beyond standardized test scores or a couple of essays, see what that person has done over a long period of time. Has that person volunteered in their community? Were there interesting little internships maybe that the person has done? So really going beyond just the test, beyond this one essay that was written, and holistically looking at what this person could contribute in the classroom. So the school, again, that I represent, you don't need to take the GMAT, for example, so no standardized tests, but we really want to see if you apply for a master's in marketing or master's in HR, convince us that you're really into this field and want to excel there, want to learn there. So yeah, what have you done during the summers in your undergrad time? And not only have you worked and earned money, what did you do for society, for the community? And again, assessing more holistically. And I think that's something where we need to have the tools to do that at scale. That's difficult. That's where standardized testing came in. But there are interesting tools now that also analyze video. So instead of writing an essay, they asked to submit a video or go on a platform and answer a couple of questions. And we have actually AI that can analyze how that person is conducting themselves and comes across. So instead of written assignments, you can do video. It's harder. You have to really show up. And so preparing students for that interaction or for interviews in person, I think that would be one way to do that. So briefly, because I don't have that much time, but happy to chat afterwards. The second head, as a professor and consultant, I'm interested in what drives the success of organizations. And we all work for knowledge-based organizations, and what drives the success of knowledge-based organizations is knowledge assets. And knowledge assets can be the deep experience of an employee, it can be the patents and copyrights that an organization has, different capabilities that you leverage in the pursuit of innovation and growth. Now, the question then is, what is knowledge? And an important dimension of knowledge is its structure. Knowledge can be unstructured, tacit, that's knowledge in the heads of people. And on the other end of the spectrum, knowledge can be codified, very structured. That's knowledge in textbooks, knowledge in code. So we really have to appreciate that knowledge has different levels of structure, from the unstructured to the structured, from the tacit to the explicit. And it will be interesting to see how AI has an impact on those knowledge assets that drive an organization's success. So a couple of years ago, helped a big aircraft manufacturer in the US with strategy-related questions. And it was interesting to go into the cafeteria of that big aircraft manufacturer and see all those engineers. They had been working for that organization for 20, 30 years. And they had deep, deep knowledge about how those aircrafts they're designing work, how the fuselage connects with other parts, and then the flight aerodynamics, whatever. So the deep experience of engineers, of those subject matter experts, that's an example of unstructured tacit knowledge. Then I sat down with them in the cafeteria, and they were actually able to talk about their experiences. They were able to talk about the challenges they had, the opportunities there are. So it wasn't only knowledge in their head, it was also knowledge that they could articulate, verbalize. So that's already a little bit more structured than knowledge. And then they looked at blueprints, computer simulations. Those would be examples of very structured, codified knowledge. So basically, we have three different kinds of knowledge. Unstructured, tacit knowledge, which we call experiential knowledge. Then narrative knowledge, that's knowledge you can put into words and talk about. And then finally, what we call abstract symbolic knowledge. So with AI now, it is interesting, what's the impact that AI has on those three different kinds of knowledge? Of course, the abstract symbolic, the coding, it's interesting. You don't need to code anymore. The machine can code for you. I mean, I'm exaggerating here. But it's amazing how now there is a democratization of being able to deal with computer code because we have AI. So that's abstract symbolic knowledge. Narrative knowledge, there was always, well, two people meet and they talk. Or they write a letter and exchange notes. Now that's pretty cool with ChatGPT and other things, where before I send, or if I want to draft a letter and it's maybe a difficult topic, it helps me craft that letter. So the narratives, the computer can help me. And then we have experiential knowledge, the most unstructured, deepest knowledge. And that's, I think, still where it's the human dimension. You really, and that was interesting in the panel discussions, if you have someone on the phone to solve your problem and there's a connection, that will be very important to leverage in the future as well. And so when we think about training AI, when we're thinking about leveraging AI, it is trained on narrative and abstract symbolic knowledge. It's not trained yet on the experiential knowledge. I can't open up Michael's brain and take out all the knowledge and train the AI yet. So it is interesting when you think about those three different kinds of knowledge, experiential knowledge, narrative knowledge, abstract symbolic knowledge, that all contribute to the success of an organization. Where can AI help? Where can AI supercharge it? But what is it missing? And I think us, the human experiential dimension of knowledge, is very important. And that's when we are looking at WeWork, for example. We're all here in person. Hello, the 1,000 people online, of course. It's hybrid, but it's special to be here with you, share a drink, have conversations afterwards. That won't go away. And that's part of the core competence of an organization. So my work involves mapping an organization's knowledge assets, and it will be interesting how generative AI, how AI in general can help us do that. So that was my strategy perspective. What is knowledge and how can we leverage knowledge assets in the pursuit of innovation for organizations?
What you said about unstructured knowledge, or maybe let's just call that know-how, right? That's not documented. I see that would be a challenge for AI to take because it's not reading our minds. How would you say then, given so many large corporations are laying off the engineers who have the know-how, and then they end up being hired by, let's say, China to build airplanes there because they have the know-how versus just keeping the people who are experienced. What's the strategy for converting unstructured knowledge into managed knowledge so that then the AI gets the full information of how to build an airplane instead of having doors fly off? Sorry.
Great question. I think there is a traditional knowledge management, that was one of the fallacies. They thought you can capture all the knowledge. That's basically, let's open up the brains of everyone, suck out the knowledge, put it into a computer system. And I don't think that works, and I think it will backfire for people if they assume that all the tacit, all the unstructured knowledge can be captured. I think leaders will have to assess what can be captured and what cannot be captured, and knowledgeable engineers, they can be supercharged with AI. And I tell my own employees, share with us what you do on AI. We want to know. That doesn't mean you're going to lose your job. Yes, maybe you save 40% of your time by doing this, but I have plenty of other things for you to do because I'm a growing organization. I want to supercharge you and then put you on other projects to really grow the enterprise. And so I think there's the link to culture then as well. What kind of culture do you have in your organization? Is it a learning culture? Is it embracing growth, reducing costs and efficiencies? Those organizations, they might have nice quarterly reviews for some time, but at the end, they are not the companies that will prevail. So I think acknowledging that not all knowledge can be captured, and to be cool with that, and find ways of what is structured, what can be just given to AI, but what are your core competencies in the form of the experiential knowledge that your staff members have, and then seeing how this connects, that's the strategy forward.
I'm curious if you're able to map like the knowledge of an organization and understand what these different groups understand and what they know. Are you also able to know what are the gaps, and so what they don't understand, and then how is that being used?
Right. It's funny, when you deal with physical assets, you can just count. You have that many machines, that many cars, that many factories. But with knowledge, it's much more difficult, of course. But that's the cool thing. Once you have an understanding of what you have, and especially what you don't have, how do you fill those gaps? Do you do that internally by developing your staff? And do you do that with a merger acquisition where you get another organization that can contribute to that gap? And so totally, it's important to see what you have, but also what you don't have, and then the strategy conversations about how to fill those gaps. But again, knowledge is a very elusive thing. The things that can be codified is easier to inventory. The gaps, more difficult. But even there, AI can help. I mean, analyzing your email traffic, for example, like seeing who talks to whom. I mean, there are those social connections that can be analyzed by AI. We can have social networks. We can see what are the themes that people talk about. So you can get closer now with AI only on, also on the unstructured knowledge part. But it is hard to really map everything out.